shall I do, Mr. Galibrath?
Well, you will do nothing.
Nothing. I'm to stand by while my neighbours are suffering.
You have no choice.
But I'm not going to be frightened away by some silly little notice, am I?
Oh, silly, you say?
Aye.
Well, then perhaps you should listen to this. Please pay attention, everyone. This is for everyone.
Great.
Any case of smallpox, cholera, scarlet fever, or diphtheria shall be reported to the local Board of Health immediately. And a placard with the disease in large letters shall be placed in a conspicuous place on the front of the building in which the case occurs.
Well, I'll see about that.
Now, Mrs. Mather, please.
Mrs.
Mather, please. Mrs. Mather, I'll have to have you arrested.
Arrested? For what? For wanting to give a helping hand. One of the children is sick and has to quarantine the whole building. Well, I have ever heard of anything so ridiculous. Now, I'm going right home, Mr. Galibrath, and I'm going to make up a nice pot of stew and bring it right on over.
Well, I wouldn't do that if I were you, Mrs. Mather.
You wouldn't, would you?
Not unless you want to be isolated as well.
Isolated?
Once again, I read. The person or persons attending the sick shall be isolated. And now, Mrs. Mather, Mr. Cohn will be closing up his tailoring business round back. He'll be coming and he'll be standing guard right to the front door there. You can leave the broth on the porch if you like.
Now, Mr. Galibrath, I think we're getting a little out of hand here, don't you? I think that maybe we're making far too much of a fuss about it. It's a childhood disease. I'm not going to catch it. Am I right, sir?
Look,
there you go.
We're not talking about catching a few helpless mice here, people. We are talking about a deadly and virulent disease.
Now, those people in there are not lepers. They're my neighbours, and I will do my Christian duty. I just can't believe you, Mr. Galibrath.
Mrs. Mather.
What?
Do you want to do what is best?
Well, of course I do.
Well, so do I. Oh, you people understand, don't you? These rules, they have to be stern and rigid, or they'd be broken. Please, Mrs. Mather.
Well, Mr. Galibrath.
All right. Now then. Nobody's happy about diphtheria, let me tell you, Mrs. Cohn. All right, now, there is something you can do for me, though.
What's that? Anything, of course.
If you wouldn't mind, just pop it over to the schoolhouse and let Miss Bailey know about the outbreak. Oh, but tell her not to tell the children. We don't want to start a panic.
Of course, I understand perfectly.
All right, just thank you
Of
very
course,
much.
the children. Oh, my God, the children! My children! Oh, my goodness. What am I going to do? Oh, goodness. No. Oh, Mr. Galibrath, you keep everyone away from
I'm not
this.
hurting anybody for this.
You know, it's a very dangerous disease. Now, if you see any symptoms, it's your duty to report it. Do you hear me? That means everyone.
Mrs. Mather, will you please calm down?
My goodness, Mr. Galibrath. Aren't you forgetting now what you said about panic?
Yes, Mrs. Mather, of course, you're right.
So calm down, please.
All right, you're right, of course.
Of course I'm right.
100%.
Of course.
Oh, you're just going home, make up that broth, and Mr. Cohn
I'm not
will
going
be
to
right.
do anything of the sort. I'm going to my home and I'm going to scrub it from top to bottom. And then I'm going to go to the hotel and I'm going to do exactly the same. I suggest you lot do the same thing. Dick, you make sure you guard this gate. I'm telling you. Why, my husband Robert is doing all these immigrants.
You folks will excuse me, I'm going to get my jacket, go rest my head.